At the beginning of the drama, we meet Yo, our male lead, who works as a manga artist. While drawing, he's watching a weather broadcast hosted by Mizuki. The interesting part is that the two of them actually live together in the same house. As Yo watches the broadcast, he says to himself, "Is there anyone else in this country who watches the same weather program 6 times like I do?" Just then, his friend Manju calls him and asks if he watched the broadcast. Yo tells her that he's already watched it 6 times and says, "I don't understand why I'm so obsessed with it." Manju immediately teases him that he must like Mizuki, but Yo quickly denies it. He says, "He just has a nice face, and I enjoy looking at him. That doesn't mean I like him." Manju laughs and says, "You're not the only one who's crazy about him. I'm a huge fan too. I love his smile, his face, his kindness, and the way he talks. Every time he smiles, my heart starts racing." Yo replies, "That's actually the part I don't like." Manju then says, "You've watched him 6 times already. It's obvious that you like him." Right after the call, Mizuki comes home and walks straight into Yo's room. He asks, "Which girl were you talking to?" Yo gets nervous and quickly replies, "She's just a casual friend." Later, while preparing dinner, Yo thinks to himself, "Doesn't he even know how to say thank you? He's not Mizuki's twin or someone else. He really is just like this, so there's nothing I can do." He then remembers their college days, when Mizuki was his senior. One day, Mizuki asked him if he drew manga. Yo told him that he was planning to quit because he needed to earn money. Mizuki then said, "Keep drawing manga and live with me. I'll give you a place to stay and food. In return, you'll have to do everything I ask." That day, the sun was shining brightly, and the sunlight was falling directly on Mizuki's face. Yo became so lost staring at him that he didn't even realize what Mizuki had said. Without thinking, he simply agreed. Back in the present, the two of them eat dinner together. Afterward, Mizuki tells Yo good night and goes to bed. Yo quietly thinks, "Why does he talk so little? Does he have some kind of illness? Sometimes it feels like he's trying to get closer to me, but he never shows it." Yo then remembers that some time ago they had spent some quality time, and that day Mizuki had told them they would only do that on sunny days. Ever since then, Yo has checked the weather forecast every single day. The next morning, Yo is once again watching the weather broadcast, and the forecast says it will be sunny. He sighs and says to himself, "Am I the only person who thinks the word sunny sounds dirty?" Later, while walking home after shopping, he receives a text from Mizuki that simply says, "Curry." Yo complains, "Couldn't he have typed something more? Now I have to go all the way back to the store in this heavy rain, and the shop owner is probably wondering what's wrong with me." In the next scene, Yo is cooking when Mizuki comes up behind him and hugs him from behind while asking about dinner. Yo replies that it will be ready soon, then quietly thinks, "Today is a sunny day, so we'll be sleeping together tonight." And just as he expected, after dinner, the two of them spend some quality time. Yo thinks to himself, "I still don't understand the sunny day rule." And another thing is that he doesn't seem to feel anything. We're not even lovers, yet none of this seems to bother him. I've basically become his slave. I do everything he tells me with just one word because I don't have any other choice. But no matter what, I still don't understand this sunny day rule. The next morning, Mizuki tells Yo that he won't be home for dinner and leaves. While cleaning the house, Yo watches Mizuki's weather broadcast again. Mizuki predicts several days of rain, and Yo sadly thinks, "Looks like nothing is going to happen for quite a while." While cooking, he talks to himself. Sometimes the sun comes out even when it's raining. Maybe he'll finally get rid of that strange rule. Maybe something will actually happen if he feels that way. Just then, his attention returns to the broadcast where they announce that a new female presenter named Hiyashi will be joining the program. That evening, Mizuki comes home and tells Yo to heat up the food. A moment later, he says he doesn't want to eat. But after Yo sits down, Mizuki suddenly comes over and asks for food. Yo looks confused and asks, "Didn't you already eat?" Mizuki calmly replies, "Looking at you made me hungry." Yo gets up to bring him a plate, but Mizuki stops him and asks Yo to feed him instead. Yo does exactly that and quietly thinks, "Does being a slave also mean I have to do this?" After dinner, while putting away the dishes, Yo says to himself, no matter how much he says he won't eat, he always ends up eating. He even ate more than I did. But what can I do? He then notices that Mizuki has fallen asleep on the couch. He tells him to wake up and go sleep in his bed instead. Mizuki replies, I'll be late again tomorrow, so I won't be having dinner. As Yo walks back to his room, he quietly says to himself, that doesn't even make sense. He said the same thing today, and he still ended up eating. The next morning, Yo starts watching the podcast show again and is surprised to see Hiyoshi there. While working, he thinks that his days are going to pass like this, with Hiyoshi coming late all the time, and they won't get to spend any time together. Meanwhile, Mizuki is discussing the next day's report with his colleagues, while Yo and Manju are talking about Hiyoshi. Both of them are jealous of him, and Manju says she really doesn't like seeing him there and wonders why he is always by Mizuki's side. Yo also says that he can't stand watching it anymore. At the same time, all of Mizuki's colleagues ask him to stay for dinner, but he says he hasn't gone home early in many days, so he needs to leave. As soon as he gets home, he goes to Yo's room to ask him to eat, but Yo is having some personal time and has also been drinking. Mizuki stops him and says that he talks too much after drinking, but Yo keeps repeating only one thing. One day he will make a lot of money, become a very successful artist, and leave this place. Mizuki asks what he is talking about, and Yo says he is absolutely right. He says Mizuki only treats him like a slave, like a tool, and that he simply doesn't like him. If Mizuki wants to spend time with someone, he should spend it with Hiyoshi, the person he was smiling at. Mizuki is shocked, and Yo tears up his painting and throws it away, saying that Mizuki has never smiled at him before. He says he doesn't like living with him, doesn't like him, and is tired and can't take it anymore. Mizuki comes over and comforts him. Yo asks why they never spend time together on rainy days. Mizuki explains, and in a flashback, we see that Yo had once said their bed sheets had gotten dirty, and he didn't know if they would dry because they only had one bed sheet. Mizuki says he thought Yo was worried about doing the laundry, so he decided they would spend time together only on sunny days. Yo then says they could have just bought a dryer. Mizuki laughs and asks, if you like him that much, then why did you just say that you didn't like him and wanted to leave? He says Yo can't do this to him because he had accepted his proposal. Yo is shocked and remembers his college days when Mizuki first offered to let him stay with him. Yo asks, was that a proposal? Mizuki then kisses him on the forehead and then on the neck before asking if he hates him. Yo thinks to himself that he wants to tell Mizuki that he is wrong, but he can't say it. Mizuki leaves, and Yo says that he has so much to say to him, but whenever Mizuki comes in front of him, he forgets everything. He doesn't want Mizuki to dislike him, and he doesn't hate him, but he doesn't like him either. Now he doesn't even know what is right or wrong anymore. The next morning, Mizuki asks Yo to have breakfast with him. Yo says he'll eat later and tells Mizuki to eat first. But Mizuki says it's because you hate him, right? He tells him to eat later and asks him to come have breakfast with me first. Yo thinks to himself that he does hate him. Later, Yo gets scolded by his boss over his manga art, so he goes to a cafe. Just then, Mizuki arrives and all the girls start staring at him. Mizuki teases Yo and then leaves. Manju also comes there to work with Yo, and they discuss his manga art. Manju explains that she writes fewer words in her artwork and makes it more attractive through colors and shading. She tells Yo to try doing the same, and also asks why he always writes specifically for male readers. She suggests that he try making it bilingual. Yo refuses, saying he doesn't know much about it and isn't very interested either. Then Manju says, this means you live with your boyfriend and that you like Mizuki, even though you always keep denying it. Yo asks, then why does he hate him? Manju says she has no idea, leaving Yo even more confused. The next night, Mizuki comes to ask Yo if he has any work or plans for the next day, but Yo says no. Mizuki then asks him to come with him. The next morning, they go to the seaside and sit there, where Mizuki asks if Yo isn't going to draw today. Yo says he didn't bring a sketchbook, and then his stomach starts growling. Mizuki asks what he wants to eat, and Yo says Chinese food. They go to eat together, look around at different places, take photos, and then get bubble tea. Seeing it, they both say that they thought it was something girls would drink, but it's actually really good. Then, Yo notices a cable car and gets excited. Mizuki takes him on the ride, but Yo is actually scared. However, when Mizuki asks him about it, Yo denies being scared. Even so, Mizuki holds his hand, and Yo thinks that this feels like a date. Then Mizuki takes him to a clothing store and starts showing him different clothes, but Yo feels awkward and refuses. As they continue walking together, Mizuki asks if Yo had fun. Yo says he doesn't know, but if Mizuki wants to go somewhere else, he doesn't have a problem with it. Then he suddenly gets surprised and says that he doesn't like spending so much time with someone who hates him. He tells Mizuki to meet him there because he has some plans and says they can meet again at 5. They meet again in the evening and head home together. On the way, Yo thinks to himself that he really enjoyed spending time with Mizuki today and that he doesn't hate him. He likes the way Mizuki looks at him, the way he talks, and even the way he walks. He likes everything about him. But to hide these feelings, he keeps looking for flaws in him and repeatedly tells himself that he doesn't like him. As soon as they get home, Mizuki gives Yo the clothes he bought for him, and Yo apologizes to him. Then Yo goes over and drops a bunch of bed sheets in front of him, saying that he bought everything we needed. Mizuki's impressed, and the two of them spend time together. They go to bed, kiss, and then Mizuki asks Yo if he likes him. Yo simply hugs him and falls asleep. The next morning, Yo wears the clothes Mizuki gave him, and Mizuki compliments him. Then Yo tells him that he needs to go help a friend with her manga art, so he has to leave. Mizuki gets jealous and asks which friend. Yo says it's the same friend he talks to on the phone. Mizuki becomes even more jealous and says that he is staying home today, so Yo has to stay there too, and tell her he can't come. Yo thinks to himself that Mizuki is seriously crazy. Later, while they are working, Manju asks Yo what he listens to while working because she gets pretty tired from working. Yo tells her that every day he listens to a weather podcast called Everyday Weather. He keeps it playing on repeat so it doesn't distract him, and they also talk about different things in between. Manju decides to try it too, and she quickly becomes a fan of Mizuki. She starts liking him a lot. In the next scene, Yo calls Manju and tells her not to come. She keeps asking why, but Yo doesn't tell her the reason. Manju thinks Yo might be in some kind of trouble, so she goes to his house. Mizuki goes to open the gate, and Yo tries to stop him, but Mizuki doesn't listen. As soon as he opens the gate, Manju is shocked and thinks to herself that her friend is dating her crush. Mizuki tells her that Yo talks about her a lot and it's nice to finally meet her. He invites her inside and explains that Yo wasn't feeling well today, so he told him to rest, and he apologizes if that caused her any trouble. Manju says it's no problem and explains that she thought Yo was in some kind of trouble, which is why she came over. Mizuki goes to make tea while Manju starts talking to Yo. She thinks to herself, am I really in the same place where Mizuki lives? Am I breathing the same air as him? Yo agrees with her, and she starts asking for something to drink because she still can't believe that she is actually inside Mizuki's home. She has a huge crush on him, so she becomes extremely happy and excited. Mizuki and Manju start talking, and she tells him that she watches his podcast every day and really likes it. She says he explains the weather really well, making it easy to understand. Mizuki says they always try their best, and hearing her say that makes him really happy. He then asks how she met Yo. Manju explains that one day they had booths at the same place where artists sell their work, and Yo's booth was right next to hers. After that, they exchanged contact information, and Yo has helped her a lot ever since. Yo overhears all of this and starts getting jealous. He doesn't like hearing them talk, so he leaves. The two continue talking while Yo drinks and eventually falls asleep. Manu asks if he has fallen asleep, and Mizuki says he drank a little too much. He asks Yo to go to bed, but Yo refuses. Just then, Manju comes over and says that seeing the two of them together makes it look like they're dating. She says she never knew Yo acted so childish around his boyfriend, and that she's pretty shocked to see it. Mizuki explains that Yo only acts like this after drinking. Otherwise, he's very quiet and never tells anyone how he feels. Then Manju says she should leave. Mizuki tells Yo that he will drop Manju off and come back, but Yo grabs him tightly and refuses to let him go. Manju tells Mizuki to leave it and says she'll go home by herself. Yo then hugs Mizuki and starts crying, complaining about why he was talking to Manju so casually and why he gave her that smile when he has never smiled at Yo like that. Yo says he thought Mizuki liked him even though he hates him. Mizuki starts laughing a little, and Yo begins talking about his feelings. He says his relationship with Mizuki is no longer casual. He doesn't even know whether he likes guys or girls, but ever since meeting Mizuki, his feelings have kept growing. He likes Mizuki's smile, his face, the way he treats him, and everything about him. Yo then rests his head on Mizuki's lap, and Mizuki hugs him. Yo says that Mizuki keeps thinking about all of this, while he had been afraid that Mizuki would leave him. Meanwhile, Manju talks to her husband, Atsuya, about the two of them. She tells him that when she asked Mizuki what he liked about Yo, Mizuki answered that it was the first curry Yo ever made for him. Basically, he avoided answering her question, and his smile was so cute that she couldn't bring herself to ask anything else. Back at home, Yo is still sleeping while hugging Mizuki, and even when Mizuki tries to wake him up, he doesn't get up. Mizuki thinks to himself that if Yo is going to sleep while hugging him like this, then he should drink every day. Seeing Yo like this also reminds him of the curry Yo made for him, and he wishes he could eat it again. Mizuki comes home, but none of the lights are on, so he starts looking for Yo. He eventually finds him in the bathroom and asks what happened, but Yo doesn't tell him anything. Instead, he says he didn't make dinner and will make it now. Mizuki gets him up and takes him to the living room, gives him some water, but Yo doesn't respond. Mizuki asks how he could become like this and what happened. Then Mizuki helps him drink some water and tells him to rest while he goes to make dinner. Once the dinner is ready, he brings Yo to the table and helps him eat. Yo finds the food really tasty, so he starts eating and thinks to himself that he wasn't in the mood to eat at all, but he still ended up eating. After that, Mizuki tells him it's time to take a shower. Yo looks surprised, and when Mizuki asks if he isn't ready yet, Yo doesn't respond. They go to take a bath together, and Mizuki helps him get comfortable before they sit in the bathtub. There, Mizuki asks him what's wrong, and Yo finally tells him that his manga art isn't good enough. Mizuki asks if that's the only thing bothering him. Yo says yes, while thinking to himself that it may seem like a small thing to Mizuki, but it's actually a very big deal to him. Mizuki then takes him to the bedroom and tells him to get some sleep. Yo says he thought Mizuki would be angry because he didn't do any work today, but Mizuki doesn't have a problem with that. In fact, he's happy that he got to spend this time with Yo. He tells Yo that they should go to sleep. Yo gets into bed, kisses Mizuki, and hugs him. He thinks to himself that whenever he is worried, spending time with Mizuki makes him feel better. It feels like his sadness is slowly disappearing, and today, looking at Mizuki made him feel like they really are lovers. It makes him feel really happy. The next morning, while cleaning, Yo starts wondering what Mizuki could possibly like about him. He thinks that he isn't good at talking, his looks are just average, he can't cook well, he isn't good at spending time together, he doesn't have a job, and he isn't even a good artist. Now he doesn't have any work at all, and he's starting to realize that there may be nothing good about him. Then he wonders if he can really be someone Mizuki could like, and thinks that maybe he should give himself that chance. When he goes to meet Manju, she says that it seems impossible for him to believe that such a great guy actually likes him. Yo denies it and says he's only worried because he doesn't have any work. He thinks he should give all of this up and find a job at a company instead. Manju tells him that everyone starts with less work and only good artists eventually get better opportunities. She says that he already has everything he needs, yet he still wants to quit, and hearing all of this makes her feel like she could throw up. Yo says, that sounded really weird. Manju then tells him not to worry about what other people think of him. Instead, he should think about what he wants to do and what he wants from his life. She tells him to calmly think about how much manga art actually means to him. Yo agrees, but says he doesn't have much money, so he should probably get a part-time job. He thinks about going back to the bookstore where he worked during college. Just then, Manju shows him an art idea based on the story of Yo and Mizuki. Yo is shocked, and she explains that the idea has already received a lot of likes. She also changed both of their names and professions so no one would recognize them. She says that one day it could become very famous and Yo could become just as successful as Mizuki. Yo thanks her. The next day, while Yo is washing dishes, Mizuki hugs him from behind and asks if he's feeling better. Yo says yes, and then asks if Mizuki has a day off. Mizuki says yes. Yo thinks to himself that Mizuki is off today, but I can't tell him that he's creating a manga based on our story. He also knows Mizuki won't let him go meet Manju, so somehow he has to convince him. He tells Mizuki that he has a meeting with his editor. Mizuki reminds him that he was fired, but Yo says this is a different job and he might have to stay there, so he'll be busy for a few days. Mizuki asks how all of this happened overnight and says Yo must be lying because the part about staying somewhere doesn't sound right. He asks if Yo is planning to do something wrong. Yo denies it and says he's not doing anything like that. Mizuki asks him to sit down, hugs him, and asks why he needs to do all of this. He says he'll buy Yo whatever he wants. Yo says he doesn't need anything, but he feels like he should earn some money too. Mizuki says none of this makes sense to him, and that it doesn't matter whether Yo has a job or not. Yo thinks to himself, "It doesn't matter to you?" He always thought that even if Mizuki didn't understand manga, Mizuki supported him. And this makes him angry. Yo hits Mizuki with a pillow and storms out of the house, saying that one day he'll make even more money than Mizuki. Mizuki tries to stop him, but Yo doesn't listen. However, before Yo leaves, Mizuki secretly puts a tracker in his pocket and starts tracking his location, and then also follows him from a distance, thinking to himself, Yo always walks this slowly, and then he sends Yo a text telling him to make up any excuse and come back home. Manju is explaining the plot of the story to Yo, but he looks distracted and lost in his thoughts. When Manju asks what's wrong, he tells her that he had a fight with Mizuki on the way there. Mizuki told him that he doesn't care about his work, and Yo thinks that was really hurtful. Manju says maybe what Mizuki meant was that whether Yo has a job or not, it doesn't matter to him, because his feelings for Yo will never change. Yo says she has changed his words to mean what she wanted them to mean, but that's not what he said. Manju's husband also says that words can never fully express a situation, and we often interpret them based on our mood. If Yo had been happy at that moment, he might have understood Mizuki's words differently. Yo refuses and says the words are still the same. This reminds him of his college days, when he first saw Mizuki. Yo thinks that when he first saw him, he felt like Mizuki wasn't even from this planet. He had never seen anyone as beautiful as him. He liked his nose, ears, soft lips, and jawline. He thought Mizuki had the best shape he had ever seen, anywhere on Earth. He even liked his eyes. Back in the present, Manju asks if they should now write about what Mizuki feels. Yo says he doesn't know anything about Mizuki's feelings. Meanwhile, Mizuki notices that Yo hasn't replied to his text. Atsuya and Yo are talking, and Atsuya can tell that Yo is really worried. Yo says he can't find the right words to express his feelings. Atsuya says he could help him, but his type of work is different. Yo tells Atsuya that a movie has already been made based on his art. Atsuya says a movie could be made from Yo's work, too, but Yo says he doesn't think anything like that will happen. They continue talking about different things. Meanwhile, Mizuki follows Yo's location and arrives at Manju's house. He becomes jealous when he sees Yo with Atsuya. Manju apologizes, but Mizuki says it isn't her fault. Yo hides behind the curtain, but Mizuki finds him and tells him that he can finish the remaining work at home, right? Yo says yes, so Mizuki takes him home. After they leave, Manju comments on how strong Mizuki is. Since Mizuki had already seen Yo's drawing, he asks him on the way home if that character is his type. He asks what that guy has that he doesn't, and says he wants a straightforward answer. Yo says maybe the guy is a little kinder, and that he listens to everything Yo wants to say. Mizuki gets angry after hearing this and leaves Yo behind without saying anything else. Mizuki starts thinking that Yo must like Atsuya, so even while working, he can't stop thinking about Atsuya. The next day, while watching the show, Yo thinks to himself that he has started watching it on repeat again. They have been living together for 4 months, but he still keeps watching it. He likes watching Mizuki on the show because that's the only time Mizuki smiles at him. In real life, he never smiles at him like that. Their comic finally gets printed, and Manju calls Yo to congratulate him and asks about their fight. Yo says Mizuki isn't talking to him, and maybe he doesn't like the art. Manju tells him that this is their love story and suggests that he ask Mizuki to read it. But Yo says he wants Mizuki to forget about all of this. Until it sells, he plans to keep it hidden inside his bag. Meanwhile, on his way home, Mizuki wonders if Yo is still meeting that editor, Atsuya. He doesn't think so because Yo was at home, but then he wonders why he is so worried about it. He likes spending time with Yo, but maybe Yo doesn't feel the same way. He also remembers how Yo smiled at Atsuya that day, a smile he has never received from him. As soon as Mizuki gets home, Yo starts asking him different questions, like whether he's okay and what he wants to eat, but Mizuki doesn't show much interest. Yo suddenly remembers that his bag is hidden, and Mizuki starts wondering if Yo is planning to leave. Then Mizuki remembers his college days and explains that he didn't like the people he used to hang out with. Whenever he was in the cafeteria, Yo would always look at him. Sometimes Mizuki liked it, and sometimes it annoyed him. But Yo had such an innocent face that Mizuki couldn't say anything. He would quietly watch Yo and keep finding excuses to stay near him and help him. He really liked being around Yo. One day, Mizuki decided that he had to find out why Yo kept looking at him. He asked Yo for his sketchbook and found a picture of himself inside it. When Mizuki asked about it, Yo said he was practicing drawing models. Mizuki complimented him and walked away. Mizuki kept pretending to be happy with his friends and hiding his real feelings, but then Yo suddenly came over and pulled him away from them. When Mizuki asked why, Yo said he didn't look comfortable with those people. That made Mizuki feel a little happy. Mizuki had a fever that day, so Yo took him home. That day, Mizuki realized that the friends he was living with didn't even know much about him. The way Yo took care of him that day made Mizuki feel that someone could actually care about him, and he didn't need to hide his feelings anymore. As Yo was about to leave after bringing him home, Mizuki asked him to stay. Yo asked if he wanted a drink, but Mizuki said he was hungry. Yo said he would get him some food, but Mizuki said he didn't want to eat outside food. When Mizuki woke up, Yo had already made curry for him. Mizuki laughed and said that when someone is sick, you usually give them porridge, but Yo had made curry instead. He said it was really tasty and asked Yo to give him all of it, saying he wouldn't even share it with him. Only Mizuki knew that the curry actually tasted pretty bad, but the fact that Yo had made it just for him made him really happy, and that feeling was enough for him. Mizuki apologized that Yo had to take care of him. Yo was slow, not particularly smart, and not very friendly, but Mizuki still found himself becoming attracted to him. The next day, Mizuki went and sat right in front of Yo in the cafeteria and asked him to draw him. He told Yo that he wanted him to draw all the things about him that nobody else knew, because if Yo was the one to reveal those things, it would make him really happy. While thinking about all of this, Mizuki eventually fell asleep. The next day, when Mizuki wakes up, he can't find Yo anywhere and starts getting worried, thinking Yo may have left him. Then he notices the wet clothes and realizes Yo must be on the rooftop. He finds him there and says that he needs him and can't even breathe without him, then kisses him. He brings Yo downstairs, apologizes, and ties him up, saying he didn't want to do this, but he can't let Yo go anywhere, so he has no other choice. He says that if Yo wants him to untie him, then Yo has to stop smiling at other people and stop talking to anyone else. Yo will only stay with him. Yo is shocked, and Mizuki asks if he has ever thought about how he feels and what he goes through. Then Mizuki suddenly tells him to forget everything he just said. Yo asks if he's angry, and when Mizuki starts to leave, Yo stops him and apologizes. He says he's never done anything like that or even thought about doing it. Mizuki asks if Yo was afraid that he would leave him. He says that Manju was fine, but Yo needs to stay away from Atsuya. He asks if there's any way for Yo to become his alone. Yo thinks to himself that Mizuki looks unusually vulnerable. Yo tells him that he has spent time with no one else and asks if that isn't enough. Mizuki comes closer and asks him to promise that he won't do it in the future either. Yo agrees and says Mizuki bullies him. Mizuki replies that Yo seems to like being teased by him too. Yo thinks that this is Mizuki's biggest problem. He doesn't understand his own insecurity, but Yo still likes being with him. The two of them spend some good time together. The next morning, Mizuki asks who Atsuya is, and Yo tells him that he has written a comic about the two of them. Mizuki is shocked. He also notices that Yo has a fever, so he takes care of him. Meanwhile, Manju is watching Mizuki's podcast and notices that he isn't there, so she calls Yo. Mizuki answers the phone, and Manju ends up telling him about the comic and starts apologizing. When Yo wakes up, he finds Mizuki reading the comic. He is shocked and asks where Mizuki got it. Mizuki says Manju gave it to him and asks if Yo wants him to say all those things to him. Yo says it's just his imagination and nothing more. While reading it, Mizuki ends up expressing his own feelings, but Yo doesn't realize it and thinks he's simply reading the story. Mizuki calls him crazy and leaves. In the next scene, Yo goes to meet Manju. She asks if he will come to the sales booth, and Yo agrees. She also asks him to bring Mizuki, but Yo says people will figure out that the comic is about them, so it wouldn't be a good idea. Manju tells him that Atsuya will also be there and that he really likes the comic. Then she tells Yo to stop hiding his feelings. Later, Mizuki texts Yo and asks him to make curry, so Yo makes it. When Mizuki comes home, he asks if Yo met Manju again, reminding him that he had told him not to. Yo says he only went because he had work to do. Mizuki says if that's the case, then Yo has to spend time with him every day. Yo thinks to himself that this is exactly what he has wanted for so long, but Mizuki then says he doesn't actually have a problem with it and that he was only joking. However, he asks Yo to come to the door and welcome him whenever he comes home. Yo thinks that Mizuki really likes such simple things. He immediately goes over and agrees, saying that he'll come to the door next time. Mizuki is really happy and kisses him. Yo then says they should have dinner first because it's ready, but Mizuki says he wants dessert first and they'll worry about dinner later. With this drama closed with happy ending.